Welcome to Off the Wall. My name is Trey. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out the show this week. We've got a really good one for you. We've got one of the all-time greats on the show this week in Calvin Schexnayder. If you're not familiar with Shakes, you better get familiar quick. Go to YouTube after you watch this, after you listen to this, type in some old Arizona Rattlers games from the 90s, and you'll see his name pop up. He was one of the all-time greats that had a receiving record in the old AFL that stood for nearly a decade, which his 1998 season was one for the books. But we had a really great talk with him about his playing days, about stuff he achieved throughout his playing career, and what he's up to now, and will we potentially see him in the arena football sphere going forward? I don't know, but it was a good talk with Calvin, and I'm excited for you guys to see it. We'll also dive into the AF1's inaugural season getting wrapped up. They played there in their arena crown. The Albany Firebirds took on the Nashville Cats in what was a really good game, which we'll dive into. Then we'll talk about the IFL action from this past week as well. But before we dive into any of that, it's time to plug the socials. So if you don't already, please make sure you're following us at Off the Wall. Look at that. Nailed it. And if you're listening, I'm pointing to the social handle right now, written on the whiteboard behind me, at Off the Wall FB. F as in foot, B as in ball, Off the Wall FB. We're on Instagram, we're on X/Twitter, we're on TikTok, we're on all the socials. So go give us a follow in there. Come say hi, come join the conversation. And if you're watching on YouTube, hello, thank you for being here. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Helps the old algorithm get us in front of more people, and hopefully grow this thing out as we continue to march on through arena and indoor football season. Arena season for a couple leagues has already wrapped up. Indoor season, we're on the final stretch here, but the content doesn't stop in the regular season or once the championship games are played. Got a full off season of content planned, which I'm excited to dive into and excited to share with you guys soon. And then if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please make sure you're going to the show page on each of those, rating 5 stars, preferably liking the show, sharing it with a friend, doing all the things and stuff. All the support and love so far has been really awesome and really appreciated. So thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you for being here. So without further ado, here's the interview with Calvin Schexnayder. All right, on the show this week, we have one of the all-time greats of arena football. Played 11 years in the original Arena Football League. He had some truly incredible seasons with those great Arizona Rattlers teams of the 90s. His name is Calvin Schexnayder. Calvin, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. How are things with you out in Arizona?
Hey, it's hot out here. It's 118 degrees.
Yeah.
Everything is pretty fun right now.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying my time away from the game. I really miss being out there. I try to challenge, the team to bring back alumni, game night, and
Absolutely.
just to be involved with the history of Arizona Rattlers, because it is. It started in 90, 91, 92 with the Coangelos buying arena football. I didn't come on the scene till 94. I was, my coach in Fresno, California, when I was coming back from Washington State University, was saying, call Danny White, give him a call.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity, the stepping stone to get you to the NFL. And I'm like, hey, might as well, might as well give it a try.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like get some tape. You don't want to be collecting dust. Like show people that you can do something, right?
Right. Show them that you're still in the hunt. And that's what I really think arena football for, because even though I didn't get to the NFL till later in my career, it still provided me a viable option to be, to work on my craft.
Right. Yeah.
And at that time, Arizona wasn't as good as like the Orlando teams and the Tampa teams, and Albany teams. But that rookie year, we set it off. We won the championship my rookie year, and we went on to do some other stuff in history. But I mean, that was the year that Arizona put its stamp on arena football.
Yeah, it's no coincidence that that was the you burst on the scene for sure. And those I'm telling you those like I've interviewed a ton of players on the show and I referenced like the 97 Rattlers a lot when I'm like
Uh,
talking about when I'm talking about like old school arena ball teams and some players have like told me they're like what do you mean by that? And I'm like
yeah.
I need you to go to YouTube right now. Type in 19 and like I'm telling people I'm like just go watch this team. This team was unbelievable.
Yeah.
An interesting thing with you in particular, you started your career when the sport was really starting to develop its own identity as
Mhm.
like this standalone, unique product compared to the outdoor game. What were
Oh yeah.
your first impressions of it when you were first getting into it?
The first impression was like, okay, uh, this is the indoor war, padded, padded. And I always thought like the net, kicking the ball off the net. How is that going to play out?
Yeah.
And hey, my rookie year, I got introduced to what that felt like against Orlando, and I tell you, I was scared. Hey, you got 250 pound linemen coming
Oh
down
yeah.
here, smacking the heck out of you, and if you don't get that ball off the net, I was like, hey, that's lights out. I
Yeah.
mean, these guys are moving, and you didn't see guys of that size of magnitude in the close area. You got to be on your toes. You got to be on your P's and Q's. You got to be moving. This ain't no time to be dancing around.
Nope.
No, the wall has never lost a fight.
None.
Never, never. So
Yeah.
hey, it was a quick study for me, but hey, I took my lumps. I took my lumps the first couple of games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely something I had to learn.
Yeah, catching that ball off that net, it's like, all right, you secure it, you have about 0.5 seconds to decide
Right.
what you're going to do. Because, like you said, they're running full speed. They're not
Oh
stopping
yeah. Oh
you.
yeah. And one of my teammates when he came back, Hunky Cooper was one of the best to do it. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
he you know his energy that he brought, um, um, and his work ethic, that competitiveness, because
Oh, yeah.
we both played offensive specialists.
Hmm.
So, we were definitely competing one with another. But he's a good friend. He's a good mentor. He's somebody I relied on as a rookie, and he pushed the needle. So definitely glad for that.
Yeah. And like, just you could just start rattling pun intended names off of those Arizona teams. It's like
Yeah.
Hunky, Shakes, Cedric
Gatewood,
Walker. It's like
Cedric Walker,
Gatewood. It's like, oh
Bonder.
man, there's so many guys, man.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But I think one of the biggest adjustments for folks is that Iron Man style. And I know you were
Mhm.
offensive specialist, but you played a little bit of Iron Man yourself, didn't you?
Oh yes. You know what? My rookie year, the year that we won it, I still have the record for um, the longest return for a touchdown in the playoffs
Oh, there you
against
go.
Albany. Yes,
Yeah.
it, it might have been broken, but yeah. The story behind that was that I was playing offensive specialist, and now we're going into the playoffs, and I got a little banged up. So uh, me and Danny talked about, hey, Hunky Cooper's coming back. He can play the off. He can play the linebacker. You can play the offensive specialist. I said, you know what? Let's just put Hunky. He's the most healthy. I'll play linebacker.
Okay. Yeah.
Linebacker, wide receiver. And it was that Iron Man. You had to, you had, and that rule got changed around a lot when NFL owners started to come in later
Hmm.
on down the line. But that Iron Man football was about the spirit of you playing both ways and being the toughest guy, one of the toughest people on the field.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you couldn't do that, dang it, you couldn't be Iron Man.
Mm.
Barry Wagner did it for so many years.
Oh,
Gatewood
yeah.
did it. I mean, these are guys who played both ways. And you had to be in shape. You know, you had to be in shape.
Yeah. Yeah, I look at some of those guys from the 90s and 2000s. I was like, Barry Wagner specifically is the one where I try to tell people, like, you guys don't understand how good Barry Wagner was.
Right.
He was
Right.
unbelievable. And then, yeah, you talk about like you said, Gabe Wood, Corey Fleming, even in the early
Yeah.
2000s. There's just
Oh yeah.
so
From
many
Nashville.
guys. Yeah, they were playing both ways, and they weren't just like they weren't scrubs at one and then good at the other. Like they were
Right.
tremendous at both. And so I'm like, I understand why we don't have it now, but it is something I'm itching for. Where I'm like,
Right.
man, if we could have it back, that would be really cool.
I think I think getting that back into play would be phenomenal. You
Yeah.
know, we had a lot of good athletes and a lot of good athletes to go on to the NFL.
Oh yeah.
And it was because of that play, because they saw the dynamics of, hey, he's able to play DB. Oh, he's able to play receiver. Oh,
Mhm.
hey, this is a little, this is a competitive league that shows that players can do both. And a lot of people went on to play in the NFL. I went on to play in the NFL with the Chargers.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, just the brand of arena football, it didn't take off as in the first couple years, but we played the first arena football championship on ESPN. I still got the banner. I took the banner.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
I took the banner. ESPN championship AFL football.
That's
And had
great.
everybody sign it. Yeah, I still have the banners hanging up in my garage.
Yeah, a lot of folks that we have on the show, I talk about like, what was your first introduction? And they talk about like seeing it on ESPN, seeing it on NBC, but you were one of the pioneers of the sport during that major growth period. What was it like being a part of something that was suddenly gaining a lot of popularity as you were playing it?
Yeah, I think we gained a lot of traction from that first ESPN game, because that was the first ESPN Arena Football Championship on there. And from there, I think it took off, because then a lot of NBA teams, a lot of NFL teams began to look at it as a viable options to offset some of the things that they were doing, and also to put it in the arenas that they were at. Dallas came on the scene, New Orleans. New Orleans bought a team. There was a couple other NFL or NBA teams that came on board, and they were like, "Hey, we're getting steady crowds of 18,000 people, just like in basketball, just like in NBA. Hey, we can fill the stands. It's not as high price, but it's a good cost for the family and people." Arizona Rattler fans, I guess I'm biased, but Arizona Rattler fans, the Snake Pit.
Oh yeah.
Fang, bless his heart, he's gone, but Fang coming out. I mean, our intro to the Snake Pit was just iconic.
Oh yeah.
Iconic. Tampa Bay was iconic. Eye of the Storm, the Predators, iconic.
Oh yeah.
Nashville. These are all teams that went out and did their job on the field and off the field. And I think one of the biggest things is our fan base, and giving back to our to the fans was the biggest thing for us, because we prided ourselves on being a part of the community and being there for them just like they were there for us.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking on those packed arenas, like it was an interesting position for the Rattlers in the 90s, because this was before the Diamondbacks were around for a lot of it. So like you guys were the summer sporting event in town. And like just seeing those arenas packed out the way they were, when you go back and watch some of those games, it's like, man, this is incredible stuff. Like it felt like an elevated product.
You know what? And speaking of the Diamondbacks, I was a part. I was a part of, I'll just say Coangelo gave me one of the authenticity bats of the Diamondbacks when they first. I still have it. It's like 100 of 300 bats, and that was the year I won the MVP of the league.
Oh,
And
nice. Yeah.
that was that. Jerry said, because you worked hard and dedicated, I want to give you this back.
Let's go.
The inaugural season for the Diamondbacks. It has all the owners, has the the stadium on the back. It's nice. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice.
Were you familiar with the Arizona area before you got there to play for the Rattlers, or was it like a brand new experience when you moved there to play?
I was not familiar with Arizona. My only experience with Arizona was coming down there and playing against Arizona State and Arizona, playing at Washington State, and then we played the Copper Bowl. We played the Copper Bowl down in Tucson and beat Utah.
Okay.
And then from there, we said we were going to drive from Tucson all the way back up to like Tacoma and Pullman, just to see the areas. So
yeah,
that was the only time I had.
It's a beautiful area down there. We've got some friends that live out there, and we go visit them as often as we can. And it's like, Arizona's nice. It is very nice.
It's nice. It's very nice. And right now, my position because I'm a park ranger now. So
very cool.
I'm on the South Mountain Park Preservation and Reserve. So I take care of the mountain, one of the biggest preserves in the world.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm out there saving lives. And still doing the autograph thing, still doing the signature thing, passing out stickers, meeting the community, talking to kids, and trying to be an influence to them. I'm still on the platform.
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah. So note to anyone listening: if you're out and about, going visiting a park in Arizona, look out. Shakes might be coming after you. If you leave a little bit of trash, he's gonna get you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so what was it about Arizona that kept you coming back? Was it like the region, like how nice it was there? Was it the team? Was it a combination of both? Like,
you know what? I bought into, just like when I was being recruited in college, I was recruited heavily by the Pac-10. Arizona was one of the schools that recruited me, and it was a system. It was the system of which I had to look at. Arizona at the time was running the broken bone. Washington State was running three wides. Do I really want to be the only one being targeted in Arizona?
Right. Yeah.
Third down. But Danny had a open-minded concept. You ran a lot. That was one thing that you did. You got the ball a lot, but hey, I was running first team, take off second team, running third team, and this was practice every single day. But he was very successful. The offense was very simplistic. It wasn't all these big numbers, and I look at all these different calls, and it's right wing white check 32 bounce. I'm like, Danny was just like, hey, 52 X post.
Easy.
I'm out. X choice.
Yeah.
Post corner. Hey, simplify it. And
right.
When you can simplify the game plan, you get more continuity, more consistent, play. And we had Cedric Bonner, the left-hand slinger. So, we had him. We had Garcia at one point in time. So, hey, we've had some good talent come our way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it seemed like Coach White was such a great coach and such a good steward for the game, just for the growth of the game in general. And it's like it's not surprising to see the run of success that the Rattlers had under him in the 90s into the 2000s. It's like, yeah, of course that happened.
Right. Continual success, with Kevin Guy coming on. But I mean, Arizona has always been a part of the conversation when it comes to championship because of the play, because of the athletes, because of the region. It's always been a part of, the gameplay when it comes to being a championship contender. That's You knew if you were coming here, you were going to be, in the mix. You were going to be a part of that conversation. You were going to, hold up that banner. You better not come up there and be like, lay an egg. Oh, no.
Yeah.
No. You got alumni that be like, hey, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'll get you.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Get you. So we mentioned the 97 squad, but you ended up winning 2 Arena Bowls with the Rattlers in the 90s. What do you remember most about those championship teams and what made it all work with those groups of guys?
I think our selfishness, man. I mean, there was, our consistent play. And we won it in 94. 95, I don't know what we were doing. We stunk up the joint. 96, we were 1 game away getting beat by Tampa. Tampa was our nemesis.
Yep.
We were back and forth. If it wasn't Tampa, it was us. If it wasn't us, it was Tampa.
Yep.
We end up playing 97 and winning that championship outright. And you know what? I'll tell you this much. No one can say they weren't scared of that Arena Bowl because of, Kurt Warner.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
That offense, they were slanging the ball like everywhere. I mean,
he was 100%.
4 or 5 different receivers. I'm like, we don't got 4 or 5 DBs.
Yeah.
What
are we supposed to do here?
Yeah. How are we going to stop that? So, it was a game within a game. And, all those different years that we went out there and played, you had the battle. There was competition.
Oh, yeah.
There wasn't too many easy games.
Mm-mm.
Okay, there wasn't too many easy games, and if it was an easy game, it was still a high fire, still a high flying, high scoring game. You had to go out there and score. So, every year the ante was up. It was up.
Yeah.
Eddie Brown scored, consistent 5 touchdowns. I came back. I scored 5 touchdowns. He scored 6 touchdowns in the game. I came back and scored 7 touchdowns.
Yep.
We were going back and forth. I mean, it was like, hey, offensive specialists, you better have your. Telling the DBs, you better have your shoes on.
Yep.
We're coming at you.
It's gonna be a track meet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a track meet. We got a track meet with Albany one year, and that was the year I scored the 7 touchdown record, and I'm like, you needed all that.
Yeah, needed every single one of those. Yeah,
all that. Yeah.
I've had Cedric Walker on the show before, and he told some stories of some absolute battles that would take place in practice.
Oh man.
Do you have any specific stories that come to mind of what it was like going to battle with those with your teammates on any given day?
I'll tell you this much: our one-on-one battles were classics. It's not. Yeah, we had one-on-one battles with the teams and all that, but one-on-ones for us and 7-on-7s, hey, it was real. This wasn't okay, we're teammates. We need to, lay off. No, Gatewood.
No.
Cedric Walker, Cedric Doggett. I mean, Herb Duncan. I mean, Hunky Cooper. I mean, we are going to battle, and we've got into some scuffles, like some fights. Over one-on-one battles. Like you don't just come out there and just play it soft. No.
Mm-mm.
We were going at each other, and this was blood in the water. That's why I think that we were so competitive with our one-on-ones, with our 7-on-7s, with our team play, that when it came to the game, it was a challenge, but yet we were prepared for that mindset, that battle.
Right.
We were prepared. We were digging, clawing at eyes and helmets.
Yeah.
We were getting into it.
Yeah. When I was talking to Cedric, he was like, when we would play other teams, he's like, you think I'm scared of you? I had to guard Hunky, Shakes, and Gatewood in practice. Like, I'm not scared of y'all.
Yeah. I mean, and we were some of, we were some of the better players, and I'm not afraid to say that. I'm not afraid
100%.
Our era was high in competition, and character players, and players that who could make a difference right off the bat. I mean, it was consistent.
Oh yeah,
it was very consistent. And like you said, some of the guys, the Nashville team. I mean, Orlando, Grand Rapids. I mean, Albany, Dallas came on the scene. New Orleans, with Dallas and New Orleans with the NFL owners,
right?
And these teams were good.
Oh yeah.
These teams were good, and I mean they had some of them had NFL players on there, like some teams that were brought down, like some players that were brought down. I'm like, man, Al Noga, up in San Jose. I mean, you have some real good people out there.
Yeah. I remember going back and watching some of the old games on YouTube. You would hear some of the commentators be like, "Yeah, the NFL season ended a month ago. He's playing arena, and then as soon as the arena season's over, he goes into training camp." Yeah. I'm like, these guys are playing full calendar year of football. Like it is insane to think about.
Yeah, and you had a lot of the people that were doing TV. I mean, those guys were NFL guys. Those guys were coming on the scene and seeing what arena football was bringing to the table. It was a viable option for people to get to the next level, or for people to continue their career and feed their families. And unfortunately, some things happened with the CBA and the collective bargaining agreement, but it was still all about the growth of the game, and us growing together, and us working to make arena football what it is today and what it continues to be each and every year.
Yeah, and what it can be, honestly. Like you look back to what it was, and like you don't want to look in the rearview mirror too much because that's not where you're going, right? But at the same time, like you can see what it has the potential to be as a sport when everything's clicking and everyone's pulling in the right direction, right?
Right.
And
exactly.
I was doing some reading and listening on some other shows and podcasts and stuff that you've been on, and I didn't realize how big of a role you played in those original CBAs that were set up. And so tell us about how that got started and like how did your involvement how'd that start? Like I don't even know where you would begin to do something like that.
Well, arena football and the history of it was always a year-to-year league.
Right.
So each time you sign, your rights belong to the team. Now, we're getting paid. I get it. This is a viable option. This is helping us feed our families. This is helping us, get it, get to the next level, so to speak.
Right.
But I always thought that, in all fairness, if you want to make this the most competitive, you have to have free agency. You got to be able to say, okay, listen, I want to be paid X amount of dollars. Okay, if another team is offering me that, let's say like San Jose SaberCats, when they came into the league, I was contacted by them. I was contacted by a couple other teams that would say, hey, we would like to have that. But the league was in place and the laws were in place where you couldn't do that. So, that was something that I challenged. I said, you know what? If we're going to grow, we are going to grow together. That was my thinking. It wasn't about, okay, well, the players should get the bounty, the players should get all this, the accolades.
Right.
And the owners were saying, well, first we need to recoup, we need to recoup what we put in there. And I said, I understand your conversation and I understand your stance, but as a football player, our window of opportunity is shortened.
Yeah.
Your owners, you can stand in this thing longer. We don't have that window of opportunity. And if we're going to grow, we're going to grow together. So I began to challenge those conversations, and I began to speak to players and ask them what was their feel. Where do you stand on, free agency? And I started, working with UFCW, because they were the first ones who helped us, get cards out there and get signatures, and and I was going to every, arena and every team and getting the temperature of the players and saying, hey, if we stand together, that we can bring about change. It doesn't have to be major change, but it has to be conducted in a way in which players are being listened to.
Right.
And then we have a say at the table. And yeah, it was met with some resistance. It was met with, some controversy. But as a player, I will stand on that hill and stand with players, and I wouldn't change my mind about that.
Right.
Because look what it brought about. Bigger contracts, brought about free agency. The NFLPA came in. Gene Upshaw, which I was able to speak to when he was living, I was able to talk to him and bounce ideas off of him, and he said, we are there for you. We are there to make sure that everything goes as planned or as accordingly. And yeah, it was challenging, but nevertheless, we survived.
Yeah.
Other NFL teams came in, other NBA teams came in, and there was a happy medium. But we wasn't going to just accept the fact that, there's no free agency. There's
right.
no, clause that you can get out of. Nah, that just wasn't, that was foreign to me.
Yeah, and it seemed like there was a lot more to it too, where there was like stuff with insurance and stuff with workers' comp too, that it seemed like some of that language got a little more worked out, and it established a bit more of a consistent precedent from team to team. And it was like, okay, this is the baseline now, which I think you just can't understate how important that stuff is.
Yeah, you can't understate that. I mean, guys want to go out there and compete, but they want to be safe about it. They want to make sure that they're taken care of. We're taking care of our end, as far as the productions and as far as the play on the field. Fans are coming out to see us. We're participating. We're interacting with them. We're growing this game together.
Yeah,
that's how it's got to be, and that was my biggest thing to the ownership and to to the league office. This is a growth thing by both parties, not just one entity. This is not going to be, we don't want to be the ones taking advantage, and we don't want to be the ones being taken advantage of.
Right.
So that that was the start of a healthy relationship. I think that it went on for a good number of years. So
yeah,
I'm proud to be a part of that. I'm proud to be a catalyst in that, because I don't know when they would have pushed the agenda. I pushed it.
Yeah,
I pushed it. So it was, and I'll tell you, it was a meeting down there with Dave Baker, and it was supposed to be three players to go and speak to Baker. That night, that day of the airplane ride, it was me, a couple guys from UFC, W, and myself. The other two players didn't show up.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, and hey, you think about Hall of Fame numbers, and I'm not going to be salty about this. I know what I did in the AFL. I'm not in the AFL because of that. I'm not in the Ring of Honor because of my stance. It is what it is.
Right. Yeah.
I still love the game. I still support the game, and I'm still, a part of anything if they asked me to do it, would jump at, would jump in a heartbeat. It is what it is. I took my stance, and I believe in fairness, and I believe in players, and I believe in what we have as a league.
Right. Do you see yourself ever get involved with arena football or indoor football again?
If they would ask me to come do anything for them, I don't have no hard feelings. Hey,
right.
I'd help run the league. I'd help to try to get back to, to a level of play. I'd help try to, consolidate some of these teams. I'd talk to some of these, different owners and leagues, and I'm like, listen, it's like you said, better to be together than be apart.
Right.
Too saturated, man. Too saturated.
Right.
Yeah, I would come back in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and you touched on before we started here about what you do with the NFL PA out in Phoenix. Can you touch on a little bit of that and let the people know what you do there?
Well, I've been secretary for the NFL PA chapter Phoenix, and we've been trying to grow the chapter here. And Arizona, Phoenix, however you want to call it, has one of the bigger chapters. Mm-hmm. There's a California, there's a New York, there's a Texas, there's a Florida, but we are like in the top. I know we're in the top 10.
Yeah.
As far as like attendance goes, and our job has been, since I've been a part of the NFL PA and been on the secretary, is to get more participants out there. Now we've gone from, like, let's say actively 9, 10, 11 to like, 40, 50, 60 participants. And that's because we are involved in creating opportunities and getting, getting players signed in and signed up and getting them out to activities and getting them back in the community. Because that's one of the biggest things, is them engaging the public and being a part of city programs and, a part of the community and going out there and, doing interviews and, all that stuff is on the table. And when you get guys out there and they're enjoying themselves and getting in pickleball tournaments, we got a pickleball tournament coming up, man. And it's contentious, man. It's like,
I believe it.
People are bringing their paddles to, bringing their paddles out, showing their paddles like, hey, man, you really want this smoke?
Especially in Arizona. I know that's a hotbed for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a hotbed. So we got some competitions coming up.
Yeah.
Our vice president Tate, he's like, hey man, you better join in. You better join in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the community involvement aspect, I think, is something that it can be, when like applying this to like AF1, IFL, and AL, all these leagues. Mm-hmm. It's something where it's like what you see a lot of times is teams are involved in the community when they need something,
right?
And it's like you need to be involved 365.
That's
regardless of whether you need somebody or need something. Like, hey, we've got a game this weekend, make sure you're there. It's like, you shouldn't be doing it just because of that. Like, you should be doing this in December when it's the off season.
That's
so it's like there's so much on the table, like you mentioned, with that some of these arena teams can do.
Yeah, case in point. And when I was a Arizona Rattlers in the off season, we participated in programming during the off season that I was noticed for the arena football as one of the highly talented community awareness participants, because I went to 282 schools.
Wow.
And I did the Respect program. This was during the off season as well as the in season, but 282 schools.
That's a lot.
Within, all of Arizona. And this is Sholo, this is Flagstaff, this is Scottsdale, this is Tempe, this is Ahwatukee, this is Glendale, this is Phoenix. And, the Respect program was a big thing for us.
Right.
We went in there and we talked about the bullying aspect before bullying was even, talked about. This was about respect of people, respect of, elders and teachers and officers and just respect in general. And and I partnered um, uh, with the Arizona. Uh, what would you call it? I couldn't. I don't know. Gosh, beauty beauty queen or whatever. I partnered with them. I did some, I did some stuff with the Boys and Girls Club. Did some stuff with, with uh, uh, with a lot of different organizations around the valley. ASU West, commencement speeches. I did all that stuff in the off season and during, uh, uh, um, you know, during the season because it was that important.
Right.
It was to be proactive and to be prepared to go out there and show the product, to show people that you cared, show that you were committed to the community, was important. And I don't think that it's done enough. It's kind of to the, if you do it, damn if you do, damn if you don't kind of deal. And it's like, no,
right.
Show a commitment.
Yeah. Yeah. You want that support from the community. You got to support the community right back.
That's right.
It's a give and take. But Calvin, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you hopping on here. Like I said, and you are someone I've wanted to chat with for a long time. So I appreciate you hopping on here. Yeah, before we get out of here, what are some words of advice that you would give young players looking to make their way into the arena football world?
Be committed, man. Just, be committed to your craft and what you're doing. And just because you're at this level, or it doesn't matter whether, because I played, a lot of people don't know, but I played in Canadian Football League.
Mm-hmm.
I played in Arena Football League. I played in XFL League. And I played in the NFL. So, I played in 3 different leagues at one point in time. But your commitment and your drive and your focus is the most important thing that's going to get you over the top. And don't look at it as if, oh, well, this is just the arena league. Hey, this is an opportunity for you to hone in on your craft, for you, to meet other different people and find out what it is that they're doing. And, you'll find your success. You'll find your niche. You'll find opportunities because it doesn't matter. Players are needed, and the NFL will find you.
Right.
You, XFL, whatever, they'll find you. Different opportunities will find you. But if you're not consistent, if you're not up to task to show that, hey, I'm as good as this person or this person, and you don't go out there and show that commitment, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And you got to be willing to, take it all in and be committed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great send off right there. That, like I said, Calvin, really appreciate you hopping on here, and hopefully we'll see you in the arena football world soon at some point. Maybe see you at a Rattlers game sometime. I don't know. We'll have to make some phone calls, see what we can do to get that done.
Yeah, man, I'll show up, man. I'll show up. Hey, I might even run a pattern or 2.
There you go. He's got one more in him.
Oh yeah, I still got the post corner.
Yeah.
You're not stopping me like that.
No, not at all.
Triple threat, brother. Triple threat.
Awesome, Calvin.
Hey, thanks for having me, my man.
Yeah, this has been great. We'll talk soon, okay?
Off the wall.
Let's go.
All right.
Big thanks again to Calvin for joining the show and talking about his career. When you go back and watch some old arena games, he is a name that just pops off the screen, not just because of the uniqueness of his last name, but he was an absolute ball player, and that 1998 season was one for the books. And like I said, that receiving record he set in 98 stood for nearly 10 years before somebody could even come close to it and could even sniff it. So he was one of the all-time greats during a run of the AFL where the sport was gaining popularity. So happy that I was able to connect with him and looking forward to connecting with him more in the future. But we're going to dive into the AF1. They had their season finale, the inaugural Arena Crown, this past weekend in Albany, New York, where the Albany Firebirds hosted the Nashville Cats, and Albany won this game 60-57. So a lot closer than a lot of people anticipated. Saw some blood bank guarantees that Albany was going to win by double digits, and that didn't quite happen. Nashville did make it a bit more of a game than people realized, even though Nashville did score with about 2 seconds left to make it a 3-point game. So scoreboard is a little bit deceiving, but The MVP of the game was Sam Castronova, and it was very well deserved. Friend of the program, almost forgot to say that. He went 17 for 25 for 233 yards and five passing touchdowns, along with two more rushing touchdowns on the ground. Isaiah Scott had himself quite a day as well. 8 catches, 155 yards, and two touchdowns. And Castronova was able to spread the love throughout his offense. And this was a really impressive performance by the Albany Firebirds offense, and something that they just continued to do all throughout the season. While some teams were struggling to score 20, 30, they were scoring 50, 60 with ease. And this was by far the premier AF1 team in the entire league this year from start to finish. And they really helped set the standard for what the league wants to see moving forward. And I like Nashville had the best chance to dethrone Albany. Nashville made a couple mistakes that Albany was able to capitalize on early, but Albany opened the door back up for Nashville to crawl back into it. And Albany had a chance to really blow this thing open, but they had a couple missteps where Nashville was able to crawl back. But congrats to the Albany Firebirds for a perfect season, 12-0, and they were able to win every game on their schedule and play. They played nearly every team in the league. I think the only team they didn't play was Oregon, and respectfully, they would have smacked Oregon. So very well deserved championship by the Albany Firebirds. By far the best team in the league, and hopefully some of the stuff that Albany was able to achieve this year, other teams in the league will take note of, and they'll be able to try to replicate some of that success. Because if we're being transparent, the F1 was very top heavy this year. With it was pretty much Albany, then Nashville, Southwest Kansas, and Salina, then everybody else. And you can make a case that it was really just Albany and everyone else for the majority of the season. So hopefully the rest of the league can catch up to Albany, and some of the wealth talent wise gets spread out a little bit more through the league, and we're able to see some more competitive games and see someone challenge the throne for Albany next year in the AF1, and see how that goes. But again, well-deserved championship for the Firebirds. They played extremely well on offense. Defense played pretty good, but gave up a lot more points than they usually did. And that was because Nashville Cats quarterback Tyler Kolka had one of the best games in all of arena football this year. We're talking across all leagues. He had an incredible game playing catch up here. He went 36 for 47, 347 yards, and seven passing touchdowns. He was able to find Jordan Gandy 10 times for 93 yards and two touchdowns, Niger Jackson for 13 times, 133 yards and two touchdowns. So Kolka deserves a lot of credit. And when you look back on the season, the moment that Tyler Kolka came into the picture for the Nashville Cats is the moment their season turned around, and they turned into a team that not a lot of teams wanted to face. Like he was really the straw that stirred the drink for this Nashville Cats offense, and really got them to a point where they were challenging Albany not once but twice. You remember in the regular season they came into Albany and they were neck and neck with Albany for the first two quarters of the game, and they very nearly crawled back into this one late, but just simply ran out of time. But really impressive performance by this Nashville Cats offense. And Jordan Gandy, Niger Jackson, Antoine Grant, they were quite the receiving trio for this group. And then you throw in Robert Jones, friend of the show, who missed some time this year due to injury, but the way they were able to use him in the receiving game and the running game all year, just a really impressive turnaround considering what we saw from Nashville at the very beginning of the season in week 0, where they kind of got thrown to the wolves, and they were in training camp, and then some scheduling stuff happened with the Predators dropping out, and suddenly 4 days later they were going to Southwest Kansas to play a game, and to see the game that they played in Southwest Kansas where I think they had 7 turnovers, to the game they played in Albany where they had 7 passing touchdowns. It's a really impressive performance and a really impressive turnaround by Coach Darren Arbett and the staff in Nashville. So Nashville is in very good hands. They've been getting a ton of ownership support, I guess we could say, with the addition of John Gruden, with the addition of Michael Waltrip from NASCAR. Nashville's looking like a team that's going to have plenty of resources to be competitive and field a team very similar to what we saw this year, but maybe a little bit closer to the talent level that we saw in Albany. So if Nashville can continue the rise that they had this year into next year, and if they can get the fan support in Clarksville, Tennessee, like they did in their final 2 games there, I think Nashville's in a very good spot to be competitive yet again. Hopefully Tyler Kolka comes back. I would love to see him back in Nashville and back in that offense, and see how he could take that next step forward But Nashville, hats off to you guys for the great game that you played and made this game a lot more competitive and a lot closer than I thought some people would have expected. But if you're the AF1, you have to be happy with how this season ended after some of the rocky start in the preseason and at the very beginning with some of the uniform stuff and the whole Corpus Christi situation. So to get the playoff run that you got with Albany, Nashville, Southwest Kansas, and Salina, it went out on as high of a note as you could possibly ask for. So the AF1, I'm looking forward to seeing where they go from here. I know some social media and forum speculation is a little weary, but I think they're going to come back stronger next year than they did this past year and continue to build on their inaugural season in 2025 and 2026. There is no off season. There's only between seasons. So I'm looking forward to seeing how things develop because there are some things that were mentioned regarding expansion. A couple expansion teams were announced at the media day for Arena Crown by Commissioner Jeff Fisher. They mentioned a team coming in Michigan and Ohio next year with a potential for some others as well. So let the speculation game begin. I'm working on a blog where I dive into some potential host cities and some what we could potentially see. And so I'll be posting that on all the socials and on offthewallfb.com. So go check out the website. I realize I don't plug the website nearly enough. I need to do better with that, but I'll be posting those on socials. So again, make sure you're following us on socials so you can dive in and again, join the conversation. Love to hear other people's perspective on these types of things. We're going to shift over to the IFL, talk about the week 15 scores and some of the games and how that impacts the potential playoff race for some of these teams as well. But the first game we're going to dive into is the Tulsa Oilers hosting Fishers Freight. And Fishers won this game in dominant fashion, 33-7. So this was the first game that Tulsa had without quarterback TJ Edwards in the mix. Hassan Rogers, who had been playing running back for the majority of the season and has played quarterback in the past. Last year, he was with Duke City and he was able to do some exciting things down there. He was thrown into the fire a little bit here and didn't have a great game, and the offense just really wasn't able to flow for Tulsa, which when you're trying to replace somebody that is as proficient and efficient as TJ Edwards, that's a tall task for literally any player. There's only one TJ Edwards, and there's only so much you can do to replace that. But Tulsa was able to score in the first quarter, but they weren't able to get on the board the rest of the game. And the offense just really, really struggled. German Smith got their only touchdown of the day on a rushing touchdown, but the offense just struggled and couldn't really move the ball downfield and really couldn't get much going. But as much as Tulsa struggled, Fishers deserves some credit for how they performed in this one, holding a team to 7 points, regardless of the circumstance, is really impressive in the IFL. Considering the talent that this Tulsa Oilers team has across the board outside of the quarterback position, really got to give some praise to this Fishers Freight defense for what they were able to do. Offensively, they didn't really have a great game, but they didn't need to either. They were really proficient on the ground and they were just able to control the pace of the game. Felix Harper had 74 rushing yards. Josiah King, who was in contention for the AF1 Rookie of the Year before coming over to Fishers, 37 yards on the ground. Dominic Roberto, 28 yards on the ground. So they were just able to run it really, really well with multiple pieces. It wasn't just one person that they were riding the entire time. But the Fishers Freight defense, again, had a really great game in this one. Aaron Jackson, friend of the program, had 3 interceptions along with 9 tackles on the day. So just a really great game from Aaron, and really, really happy to see him earn the IFL Defensive Player of the Week honors. And Fishers is not technically out of the playoff race. They could still sneak in if a lot of things fall their way. But for all intents and purposes, it looks like they're going to be on the outside looking in. Tulsa, if they can't get the quarterback situation figured out, it's looking like they're going to get leapfrogged by Massachusetts, and they're going to be on the outside looking in. So Tulsa's got to get some things figured out on offense. Their defense still played really, really well in this one, all things considered. But a really, really strong game from Fishers, and one that they desperately needed after starting 2-0, losing 9 in a row, and then winning their last 2. It's looking like they might be putting the pieces together on something exciting in Fishers. But the next game we're going to go to is the Massachusetts Pirates at the Quad City Steamwheelers. So Quad City was coming off of a week where they just got smacked by by Jacksonville, and they turned around and say, you know what, we're gonna be the smackers. We're gonna be the one who smacks. So they did that against Massachusetts, and on offense, they were just able to really be efficient. Daquan Neal had 4 passing touchdowns on the day, finding Jordan Vesey and Tamarian Terry, Scary Terry, for 2 touchdowns apiece. And they, like I said, they were just able to control the pace of the game. Defensively, Quad City played really, really well in this one, and put Massachusetts in some situations where they had to throw the ball a lot more than I'm sure they wanted to, and the passing efficiency just wasn't there, and the Quad City pass rush was a big reason for that. But that being said, Kenji Bihar didn't have a bad game in this one. He had 3 touchdowns and 166 yards passing, but you really want to see from this Massachusetts Pirates offense a lot more efficiency on the ground and using that ground game to open up the big play through the air. And when they're playing from behind for as long as they were and by as much as they were at certain points, they just had to pass the ball a ton, and that's just not where their strength is right now, even though Kenji was playing pretty well up to this point over the past month or so. So Massachusetts belled at 6-6 on the year, but by the time this comes out, they actually played Iowa yesterday. Yeah, so by the time this comes out, they would have played Iowa yesterday, so they may very well be in the fourth spot of the playoff race at this point, depending on how that Iowa game works out, which they're probably going to beat Iowa. Let's be honest. So Quad City got a much needed win to stay pace for that top seed in the Eastern Conference. They're sitting at 10-3 right now, with Jacksonville right behind them at 9-4. And like I said, Massachusetts is jockeying for that position in the fourth spot with the Tulsa Oilers right now. So Quad City got a much needed win to, stay ahead. And the final stretch of the season is going to be very crucial for Quad City, because this Quad City team historically plays much, much better at home than they do on the road. And not just this year, but the past few years. I think last year they were 6-2 at home, 2-6 on the road. So the Quad City faithful, they come out to support their team, and if Quad City can get home field advantage, they may be able to make some noise and find themselves in the championship game in Tucson, if they can play the game that they're capable of with the roster that they have both on offense and defense. So big win for Quad City. Massachusetts, not a season ender, but would have been nice to have this one. But the next game we're going to talk about is the Jacksonville Sharks and the Iowa Barnstormers. Jacksonville went to Iowa and won 58-40. Iowa got off to a pretty strong start in this one, and it was looking like, okay, this might be one of those games where Iowa for some reason somehow wins a big one. Like, we haven't seen it all year, but it was looking like they were going to get off to a strong start, but then the wheels fell off like we're used to seeing from Iowa, and Iowa just kind of fell apart down the stretch. James Cahoon, this was a very pass-heavy game for Iowa, as it has been all year. He ended up with 219 yards and 3 touchdowns on the day. Not much to speak of on the running game, but he was able to spread the ball out pretty well with Raheem Harvey, Keon Williams, Joe Noden, and a little bit of Caleb Hood as well. But this Barnstormers defense just gave up way too many points down the stretch. They gave up double digits in every quarter but the first. The first quarter, they gave up 9, so basically double digits. 19 in the second, 17 in the third, 13 in the fourth. And this 58-point total matches their season average up to this point leading into this game. So this Iowa defense has just been a problem for them all year, and Jacksonville was really able to take advantage of that. Tyler Huff, again, played a really, really strong game in this one. Had a couple passing touchdowns, 106 yards through the air, 83 yards on the ground. And this Jacksonville team is really impressive with the turnaround that they've had, considering the quarterback carousel that they had through like the second quarter of the season for them. And Tyler Huff has been playing really, really well, and I've been impressed with what he's been able to do with that offense, considering some of the moving pieces. They started the year with 3 running backs that aren't even on the team right now due to injury, due to trades, and to see some of the adjustments that they made on the fly with this running game, with Tyler Huff kind of being the central focus. And they've really been able to turn their season around, and they're sitting at 9-4, 1 game out of the first seed. And it's looking like if they're able to, stay the course for the rest of the season, they're going to be hosting a first round playoff game. And if they can leapfrog Quad City into that number 1 spot, the Eastern Conference could run through Jacksonville, and Jacksonville has great fan support, and the Shark Tank is not a place that people will want to go come playoff time. So Jacksonville is in a really good position. If you can run the ball and play strong defense like they're able to do, you can go a long way, especially in the IFL. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Jacksonville can finish off the season with these final three games and see if they can make a push for that one seed. But it's looking like I said, at the very least they're going to get a home playoff game, and we'll just have to see who that ends up being against. Next game we're going to talk about is a little interconference showdown in Week 15. Again, not something you typically see, but the Green Bay Blizzard went to Arizona to face the Arizona Rattlers, and Arizona won this game 48-28. So Arizona was on a four-game skid. They just looked lost on offense heading into this one, and it looks like they were able to get some things figured out and beat the Green Bay Blizzard for the second time this season. I think it was week 4. These two teams played in Green Bay, and Arizona had a thrilling comeback to win the game. So Green Bay really needed a win here and to keep pace with Jacksonville and Quad City for that one seed. But it's looking like at most they're going to be able to achieve as a two seed at this point, and they're going to have to win out and get a little help from some of their Eastern Conference frenemies to hand Jacksonville a loss or two so that they can have a home game in the playoffs. But Green Bay in this one just really couldn't get things going until it was too late. They had a chance to really make this a one possession game when I think they were down by 13. I think they were down 41-28 in the fourth quarter. They were able to force a fumble, and it was something where the ball bounced into the end zone. And if Green Bay recovered it, they would have made it a 6 point game in the fourth quarter. And suddenly they were in contention to really steal this thing. But Arizona was able to recover it, I believe, for a touchback. And so that was the moment where I was like, okay, that was your shot, Green Bay, and you just didn't take it. So Green Bay lost a big one that they really couldn't afford to lose. Max Mailer played okay in this one, but didn't play well enough. Didn't play to the standard that we've seen from this Green Bay offense up to this point. They've scored 70 plus, I think, 3 times on the season, or if not 3 times, 2 times, and very close to a third time. So this Green Bay offense is capable of putting up points in bunches. They just weren't able to really do it in this one. And the receivers, not really one person rose to the occasion and dominated like we typically see for this team. And Green Bay's still in a spot where they're most likely going to make the playoffs unless they have a just bad collapse here towards the end. But Green Bay needed this one in a bad way, and they just weren't able to get it done. But on the opposite end, Arizona needed this in a bad way, and they were able to get it. They were able to stop some of the bleeding that they've had up to this point this year, over the past month and a half or so, where they were at one point the number one seed in the West, and then they blinked, lost 4 in a row, and suddenly they're in the 4 slot, where they pretty comfortably going to make the playoffs at this point, but they had a chance for the playoffs to go through Glendale and go through their home court. And that's just not looking like it's going to be the case at this point, just based on how this last month and a half has gone for them. But a much needed win to get some things going in the right direction for them. Ron Brown Jr. had an incredible game in this one, 90 yards and 3 touchdowns on the day. Dalton Sneed, not his best game, but was able to facilitate some things and really get some things going for this offense. And he was able to connect with Ron Brown Jr. again through the air. And this offense really needed somebody to step up, and Ron Brown Jr. was that guy at running back, both on the air or through the air and on the ground. So Arizona improves to 8-5 on the year. Green Bay falls to 8-5 on the year, and Arizona's in a spot where they're pretty comfortably going to make the playoffs. Same with Green Bay, but Green Bay really needed this one, and they just couldn't get it. So we'll have to see if Green Bay can finish the season strong with these final 3 games, and we'll have to see how the final 3 games for Arizona fare as well. But the next game we're going to talk about in the West is the Bay Area Panthers facing the Northern Arizona Wranglers, and Bay Area won this game 41-30. So Bay Area, aka the Northern Arizona Wranglers, with the exodus of talent from last year's Northern Arizona Wranglers team and the coaching staff to Bay Area. This game was a lot closer than the scoreboard indicates. You look at the scoreboard, you're like, oh, 11-point game. Okay, Bay Area was pretty comfortable. No, 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 no. No, Northern Arizona was trading blows with Bay Area here, and they were making life difficult for this Bay Area offense. And if it wasn't for Axel Perez at kicker, Bay Area probably loses this game because he was able to provide some long. I think he had like a 45, 50-yard field goal early in the game. He had a couple deuces in this one that really kept them in contention and ultimately pulled them ahead in this game. And Northern Arizona had a chance to really pull off the upset, and this would have been an incredible upset. The one win Northern Arizona Wranglers taking down the one seed Bay Area Panthers, but Bay Area was able to hold on and finish strong in this one. Josh Jones at quarterback, 3 touchdowns through the air, as well as 67 yards on the ground. Um, not not a ton going for Bay Area in this one through their offensive performance. Tyrese Chambers had 2 touchdowns. Trayvon Alexander had a receiving touchdown as well. But this Northern Arizona defense had Bay Area locked up pretty well. And like I said, Axel Perez at kicker was the main differentiator and was the guy who kind of made it happen and deserves the Game Ball Player of the Week awards if you're in the Bay Area locker room. But for Northern Arizona, this was a game where, like we've talked about it all year, where they can frighten some teams and they can push some teams to the limit, and that's exactly what they did here. At one point in the fourth quarter, they were up in this one, and it was looking like, oh, Bay Area, what's going on? Like you guys are comfortably in first, and suddenly this 1-12 team is knocking on your door and making things a little bit uncomfortable. But Ramon Atkins had 170 yards through the air and 3 rushing touchdowns, and he had 45 rushing yards on the ground. Kind of wish you saw more on the rushing and the rushing attack out of other people in the game other than Ramon Atkins, but Arlen Bruce and Deshaun Stoudemire were able to haul in for a combined 130 yards receiving and 3 passing touchdowns, or 3 receiving touchdowns on the day. And this Northern Arizona team, they're gonna be one where we look back on their season and just think, what if Ramon Atkins was there from the start? Are they a 1-12 team at this point? No, I think they're probably 6-7, at least 6-7, 5-8, and in the playoff conversation. Um, but yeah, Northern Arizona, they're a feisty team, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they build on this with their final 3 games of the year, and see who they bring back next year, see if the coaching staff stays, and see if they're able to build on some of the success. Because if you look back on Northern Arizona history, they had a similar season, I think, I believe it was their inaugural season in the IFL, where they only won 1 game, but the very next year they were able to get things turned around and make a championship run. So if history can repeat itself, um, there's reason to be optimistic about the future of the Northern Arizona Wranglers if they can retain some of these key pieces, get Ramon Atkins back, and continue to build around the success that they had there. But Bay Area improves to 10-2 on the year, and the Northern Arizona Wranglers dropped to 1-12 on the year, and just the season of misery continues for Northern Arizona. But the last game we're going to talk about is the Vegas Nighthawks facing the Tucson Sugar Skulls, and Vegas won this game 59-55. So a very, very high scoring game in Tucson. Where in this one, Vegas was able to jump out to a really quick lead, 16-0 in the first quarter, and it was looking like, okay, Vegas is going to run away with it. Here we go. But Tucson was able to fight back and really make this a back and forth game. For Vegas, Jaden DeLora had a pretty good game in this one, 142 yards passing and a passing touchdown. And then Jerome Johnson was able to come in and do some stuff on the ground. And Antonio Wimbush had a pretty good game on the ground as well. But I think the star of the game for the Vegas Nighthawks has got to be Quentin Randolph at wide receiver. He had 76 yards and 2 passing touchdowns, and has just been explosive for them all year, and really takes the top off the defense and has enabled this offense to really flow the way that it has. And he's been healthy all year. He's been really productive, and I would not be surprised to see him on an all IFL team at the end of the year, whether it's first team, second team. I don't know. We'll have to sit down and crunch numbers and look at impact and all that stuff. But he's having an all IFL type of year. And this defense for Vegas started off strong, but like I said, Tucson was able to make it interesting down the stretch and able to really come back. And it looks like this Tucson team is just doing too little, too late to make a push at the playoffs. They're sitting at 5-7 on the year, with the 4 seed currently 8-5. So if Arizona and Vegas are able to win one more game, that likely knocks out Tucson from contention at this point. It's just a matter of figuring out the placement of the 4 teams in the West, rather than which 4 teams it may be. But for Tucson, George Reyna had a pretty good game in this one, just couldn't get off to the start that they needed to stay in contention with this one. A 0 point first quarter is never a good start, but they were able to really light it up in the second, third, and fourth. But George Reyna had 206 yards and two passing touchdowns, and collectively as a team, Tucson had 132 yards rushing. So they were able to do some things on the ground, and having 100 yards rushing and 200 yards passing, that's a great balance to have in the IFL, and it just wasn't enough to complete the comeback as Vegas was able to do whatever they wanted on the offensive side as well. Alfonso Taylor, 76 receiving yards. Trip Harrington, two receiving touchdowns through the air. So Trip Harrington has been one of those players that has came over from Arizona early in the season and has been a big impact player for this Tucson Sugar Skulls team. And he's one of the most exciting players to watch in the entire Western Conference and in the entire IFL at this point, just because he's such a tremendous athlete and what he's able to do at the quarterback position, running back position, wide receiver, all those things. So Tucson might be too little, too late for them. Vegas is in a spot where it's looking like they're definitely in the playoffs, just a matter of what seed. So if they can win out, they can definitely host a home playoff game in Henderson. But it's just a matter of how these final three games for all of these Western Conference teams play out, because it's looking like we're going to get a repeat of the same four teams from last year. But do we see the same order? We'll find out soon. Last thing we're going to touch on before we get out of here is some NAL news that came up this past week, where the Beaumont Renegades, the reigning NAL champions who won their first title in their first year of existence a couple weeks back, they announced that they're not going to be returning to the NAL, most likely. I guess technically there's a chance they could come back, but the NAL released a statement saying that the Beaumont Renegades, they've mutually agreed that Beaumont will explore other options for their league, and who knows what may have happened behind the scenes that ultimately led to this, but all signs are indicating that Beaumont may end up in the IFL based on some things that some players, some individuals affiliated with the Beaumont Renegades have said to the media. So it seems like Beaumont is IFL bound, which is great. Beaumont was an exciting team, and I think they would have gone toe to toe with a lot of IFL teams from this year based on the rosters that each of them had, similar play styles. NAL plays with an indoor rule set and would have been pretty close to what the IFL typically does with their rule set as well. But if we're being transparent, Beaumont has a lot of work to do off the field to raise their game to a level that would be acceptable in either the IFL or the AF1. I know AF1 is coming off their inaugural season. Things weren't great, but when you look at the streaming product of the AF1 versus the NAL, and then you look at the streaming product of the IFL versus the NAL, it's night and day different when you're looking at some of these teams specifically. And the Beaumont broadcast wasn't great this year, and has a lot of work to do off the field to raise their standard to match the standard of what would be acceptable in the IFL, especially considering what the infrastructure investment that the IFL has made with the IFL network, and just looking at something like a Vegas Nighthawks broadcast or a San Diego Strike Force broadcast versus a Beaumont Renegades broadcast from this past year. It's a night and day viewing experience, and it's something that Beaumont is going to have to get sorted out if they're making this jump, like all signs are indicating. So it's one of the first dominoes to fall in what should be a very interesting indoor and arena football offseason ahead. And I feel like we're only getting started with some of the dominoes that will be falling after this. So exciting time. It seems like every year is the most exciting time in indoor and arena football, but there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of moving pieces here, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see what changes next and see if there's another team to potentially jump leagues, what types of expansion franchises we're getting, like the Amarillo Warbirds. They came in and they got set up with the NAL, so it was looking like they were going to have a dance partner in Texas with Beaumont, and Beaumont said, "No, we're out." So a lot to be done, a lot to be seen, but you can stay in the know by following Off the Wall on socials at Off the Wall FB right there. Again, nailed it. at Off the Wall FB. We're on X, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on all the socials. So go give us a follow on there and join the conversation. Let me know what you think about all these moves. Let me know what you think about Beaumont dropping out of the NAL and exploring other options. Let me know what you think about Amarillo joining the NAL and what that could mean for the future of the NAL. I'm curious to hear other people's opinions on all these things. So yeah, come join the conversation and come say hi. And that's the show. Thank you so much again to Calvin Schexnayder for joining the show and talking about his arena football career. And again, that 1998 season, chef's kiss, unbelievable. He's one of the best to ever do it, and I'm looking forward to staying connected with him and see if we can get him back in the arena game somehow. We need some of these vets to come back, and there's a lot of history, there's a lot of legacy in arena football that I think is just untapped with this game and with this sport. So we'll see what we can build. We'll see what we can do to get Shakes back in the mix. But again, like I mentioned, make sure you're following us on socials. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for checking it out. Like and subscribe, share it with a friend, comment what you think the next domino will be to fall in the arena and indoor football off season, whether it be a team jumping from one league to another, whether it be expansion teams. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please make sure you're rating the show, liking the show, sharing it with a friend, doing all the things and stuff. And when you're rating the show, please leave a review as well. Let people know what Off the Wall is about, and let people know what you enjoy about it. It means a lot, and all the support has been really awesome to see. So there's only 24 hours in a day. The fact that you chose to spend like an hour and a half here watching, listening to Off the Wall means a lot. So we'll see you on socials. Take care. Have a great and safe holiday weekend, and we'll see you next time. Take care.